Hey, what up everyone, this is Mondo All Day, back with another video, and in this video I'll be doing a build guide for Juggernaut. I'll be going over which artifacts to use, which uniques to use, medallion, insignia, as well as go over the powers, talents, and traits, the hero synergies, and at the very end kind of give you some tips and points as far as how I was able to pass Cosmic Trial with Juggernaut without using any affinity points. So again, this is my build guide for Juggernaut, so let's get right into it. So the first thing we're going to look at are the artifacts. So the first artifact is Fred Duke's bodysuit. I'm using this for the +1 strength, 2.1% less damage from all attacks, damage rating increase, health increase, and plus durability increase. I like this because it grants me both durability and strength, because Juggernaut is durability and strength. So this artifact is probably perfect for him because it grants him not only strength and durability, but also increases the damage rating and health increase. So this is really good for him. Then I'm using Shield Medal of Valor. I'm using this for the deflect rating, speed increase, critical damage rating increase, critical hit rating increase, but also for the +2 strength. So this is not the best artifact, but it definitely helps him out. But again, this is not the best, but it'll do for now. And then for medallion, I'm using the Hulk medallion. I'm using this for the health increase, tenacity increase. When you hit with the melee power, gain 117 physical damage rating for 5 seconds. It stacks up to 3 times. Physical defense rating is increased, momentum is increased, and also 4% chance when you are damaged to grow and rage, gaining 1400 damage rating and 5600 defense rating for 5 seconds. Personally, it's not the best medallion, but the reason why I went with this is because it's probably the only medallion I had available that was somewhat best for him. But I'm mainly using this for, of course, from the health increase. Not so much of momentum, because the momentum is really low increase, but the enrage part where you grow, because increases your damage by 1400 and your defense by 5600. So but it's only when you get hit. So it's one of those things where it's not the best, but it'll do. But if you have something else that's better, I would definitely go with a medallion that grants you either increase of strength, durability, and it gives them some like defense or health, preferably momentum, because momentum is really good with Juggernaut. But as I said, this is it's decent medallion, but you can do something else. You can do better with something else. Then I'm using Advanced Hillfang of Zarathos. I'm using this for the +2 durability, the physical damage rating increase, health increase, and 9% chance to taunt all nearby enemies for 3 seconds. Again, I'm using this for the durability, health increase, and physical damage rating increase, because he's all physical damage based. Then I'm using Advanced Crimson Crystal of Sidorak, for the +2 strength, physical damage rating increase, and 2% chance to, when you hit, to create a shield which absorbs 6300 damage, and also health increase as well too. So again, not the best artifact as well too, but again, this is a decent artifact for this build. So yeah. And then for the Forge, 800 defense, and I have it blessed to where I get +1 strength, a damage rating to melee powers increase, and attack speed. You definitely want the attack speed because he's a bit slow in his attacks, but he does a lot of damage, as you will see in a bit. And then for legendary, I'm using Crown Crystal. I'm using it for the 200 momentum increase, health increase, damage rating increase, 500 critical hit rating increase. As you can tell, this is not fully maxed out legendary. So I actually tried Cosmic Trial with this build with, I think, just rank 1 legendary, and I was able to pass Cosmic Trial. So keep that in mind. But yeah. And then I'm using Midtown Garden Ring. I'm using this because when you use a movement power, gain the Midtown momentum buff, giving you damage bonus increase for 5 seconds. When you hit a Midtown boss, gain 18 health and 2 momentum. Again, this is Cosmic Trial, so it's kind of irrelevant. But also 4% chance when you are attacked to gain the Midtown Manhattan Vengeance buff, which increases your critical damage by 348 for 5 seconds. So again, but this is not the best ring, but I'm using this because of this buff that grants you, which is 30% chance when you hit with the movement power for your next movement power to be a critical hit. That's good because this build is all movement except for like 1 or 2 powers, but everything else is movement. So with that said, and according to this ring, 30% chance that when you hit with Midtown with a movement power for your next movement power to be a critical hit, meaning that a lot of these powers are movement, so the likelihood of gaining this buff and making my next hit, critical hit, it's really, really good. So hence, this is the only reason why I chose this ring. So yeah. And then for uniques, I'm using all of Juggernaut's uniques, as you can see here. These are all his. For costume, I'll let you guys see it. I'm using Juggernaut Classic Costume, one of my favorites in my opinion. And then for Catalyst, then I'm using where I gained +3 intelligence, which is somewhat irrelevant, +3 strength, but also regenerate 25% of your health, up to 3,100 momentum when you use a medkit. That's very useful because you want the momentum to increase. And when I go over the build guide, you see what I mean. And then crafted affixes, critical damage rating, and then visual, when you brutally strike, display a Midtown Silver Spotlight for 3 seconds. Insignia, I'm using insignia of Pator Wispatoon, I can't even pronounce it, but anyways, when you hit with any power, you and your allies gain 200 damage rating to melee powers and 147 defense rating increase. It's decent, but I'm mainly using this for the health increase and critical damage rating increase. And then for the pet, as you can see, it's not even maxed out. I have only one thing, which is a +3 strength. Those are my items. Alright, so let's go over the powers, which powers I use, top to bottom, left to right. First one's Rope-a-Dope. Interesting name title. Then Lariat. Baroom Brawling. Big Elbow Drop. There. Enter the Fray. Wrath of Sidorak. Devastating Charge and Unstoppable Charge with signature. Again, talents and traits I go over after or in a bit. Infinity points, as I stated, didn't use any. And then for the hero synergies, Cable for the critical hit multiplier increase, Colossus for the health increase and physical damage increase, Electra for the damage increase and damage to bosses increase, Hawkeye for the move speed and critical damage increase, Human Torch for the area power damage increase, Moon Knight for critical hit rating multiplier to physical powers, She-Hulk for the physical damage rating and health regeneration increase, Scroll Girl for the damage to bosses, Taskmaster for the flick rating and dodge rating increase, critical damage and melee power damage increase, and then Wolverine for the brutal strike and brutal damage increase. Alright, so for the talents and traits, so the first row, I use the Invulnerable Juggernaut talent. I'm using this because it's the passive. So what it does is increase the defense rating, multiplier increase, deflect rating increase, but also maximum health. So I increase my maximum health with 1,000, so that's good. But also too, when you spend 100% of your maximum momentum, meaning spirit, on a power, restore 20% of your maximum health. And that's really good because what that does is when I have a maxed out momentum and I use a certain power, which I'll go over in a bit, with this talent, I regenerate 20% of my maximum health. It's really, really good for Juggernaut, because it's basically an endless supply of health regeneration. In the second row, I'm using People's Elbow. It's funny, it reminds me of The Rock. But anyways, Big Elbow drops damage is increased an additional 2% per 10 momentum. Max momentum 250. So what this does is it grants me an additional momentum of 250. So right now it's at 1107. Now it's at 857. So again, what this talent does is it not only increases my momentum, not only does it increase my power damage to movement powers. So basically, all movement powers are increased by 10%, but also Big Elbow drops damage is increased by 2% per 10 momentum spend. I don't want to do the math, but 10% of 1,000, I'm sure you can do the math. So what it does is before, and I'll show you, Big Elbow drop is it says here, spend all remaining momentum to increase damage by 4% per 10 momentum. But with this talent, when you click on it, now it does 6%. So you get 6% damage increase per 10 momentum spent. So that's really, really good. In the third row, I'm using Embrace Sidorak talents. What this does is when you activate Wrath of Sidorak or Unstoppable Charge, Scion of Sidorak is automatically activated. So Scion of Sidorak, what this does is when you activate this, and again, I'm just going over what what Scion is. Scion, when you activate this, it increases your base damage by 25%, critical hit chance 10%, critical hit damage by 25%, momentum generated is 20% of maximum momentum per second. So it generates your 20% of your maximum momentum when you activate this, and the buff is 8 seconds. So it's really, really good. But with this talent right here, Embrace Sidorak, when you activate Wrath of Sidorak or Unstoppable Charge, meaning when you activate Signature or Wrath of Sidorak, which I'm using, it automatically activates Scion Sidorak. So again, to me, that's really, really good. And plus 2, while Scion Sidorak is active, your maximum momentum is increased by 500. So what that means is when you activate either Unstoppable Charge or Wrath of Sidorak, not only does it activate automatically Scion, but your momentum is increased by 500 automatically while Scion is active. So again, it's really, really good, especially for the big elbow drop. And I'll go over that a bit in the rotation, but just keep that in mind. But that's really, really good for him, especially for this build. Fourth row talent is Get Out of My Way. So what this does is Devastating Charge is instantly defeats non-boss enemies, which is this one right here. I'll show you. Okay. Let's see here. Defeats non-boss enemies and prevents momentum from decaying for 4 seconds. So when you activate it and you utilize that power, which is Devastating Charge, it defeats non-boss enemies, but also prevents momentum. Like, you notice how it went down, and if I stop moving, it decreases. Well, when you use Devastating Charge, it does not do that. But with this talent, it also Devastating Charge does critical hit chance by 100%, and that's really, really good because again, this is really a movement build for Juggernaut. So having that critical hit chance 100% is really good, meaning that you're always going to critical hit. Again, it's really, really good for Juggernaut, especially for this build. And then the last row, the talent I'm using is Just Keep Swinging. So what this does is whenever you hit with Lariat, which is a movement power, the cooldown of Unstoppable Charge, which is a signature, is reduced by 2 seconds, meaning that every time, let's just say I activate my signature, right, and the cooldown is 45 seconds, which is it's a lot actually, but every time I use and I hit with Lariat, which is a movement power, it reduces the cooldown for 2 seconds, excuse me. If we do the math, I get 5 charges, 2 times 5, that's 10 seconds, so it ends up being 35. But it says here when you hit with Lariat, so every time I hit it, and every time I utilize this power and I hit an enemy, the cooldown is reduced by 2 seconds, which is good. But with this talent, I also get an increased charge for Lariat by 1, and base damage is increased by 10% for movement powers. So again, this is a really good talent, especially for this build, because 1, it increases the damage to movement powers, which are my movement powers are like to do a lot of damage itself. So having that extra damage increase is good. I increase my max charge for Lariat for additional 1, but also every time I hit an enemy with movement power of Lariat, I decrease the cooldown by 2 seconds for a signature. And again, a signature is really good. And yeah, these are the powers I'm using for Juggernaut. Now for his build, it's really simple. You just have to obviously keep the momentum, aka keep moving. Oh yeah, my team up was Punisher. Alright, so let's get 2 things out the way. Really, really simple. Rope Dope, that's my basic. I'm going to be using this just whenever I'm recuperating or whenever my powers are on cooldown. Just use Rope Dope. And the good thing about this too, it regenerates momentum, and you want that. Hence why I'm using this, because I want as much momentum being regenerated as possible. So right now, if you notice, it's decreasing. But when I use Rope Dope, it increases it. Not a whole lot, but it does. Okay, that's what it does. And yeah. Alright, and then Baroom Brawling. This is decent, but I'm using this because 1% it increases the damage by 1% per current momentum, meaning whatever momentum you have right now, the damage of this power is increased by 1% per 1% current momentum. So it's decent. Power is not the best, but I only like it because for that particular reason. But also too, when you activate this power, you reduce the cooldown of all offensive powers by half a second per hit, and this is a three hit. So in other words, 1.5 seconds is reduced by all powers if I use this power and hit an enemy. So meaning is, let's just say all my powers are on cooldown, and then I activate this power and I hit an enemy. So the cooldown of these powers will be reduced by 1.5 seconds, according to this Barum brawling. So yeah, so it's, again, I use these powers whenever you can, mainly rope-a-dope, but if not, when this is available, definitely use brawling, because I want that, not only want that damage, but also too, I want that when I hit an enemy, I want the cooldown of offensive powers to be reduced by half a second. Doesn't sound a lot, but it can mean a lot when you're playing. So again, I just really get these out the way. Now my rotation is really simple. The first thing I usually do is activate Enter the Fray. The good thing about this is it only does regenerate momentum, because according to this, if below 30% momentum, meaning like right now I have nothing, when I activate this power, momentum, 30% of maximum momentum is regenerated. So meaning, so right now, look, I'm gonna have right here, and if I activate it right now, it's gonna regenerate momentum. Look, right there. See that? So again, one of the things I like about this power is that it regenerates momentum. It does quite a bit of damage. Enemies take 10% more damage, and since this is the movement power, according to these buffs here, like this one, I get 10% increased damage, as well as this talent right here, I get another 10%. That's 20% increased damage because it's movement power. Okay, now continue reading what this offers. Also too, when you activate Enter the Fray, momentum will not decay for 4 seconds. That's good, because when you activate this power, let's say for instance right now I activate it, it won't decay, so you would just steady there, and then that one goes down. So keep that in mind. But it says here, if above 30% momentum, Tremor's physical damage is increased by Tremors is physical damage by 4,000 twice per second. So meaning that if I have more than 30%, so this is right now, let's just use up, let's gather at least half. When I activated power, it does Tremors. It does that. See that right there? That's what Tremors are. That's only at that only happens when I have over 30% of momentum. So this is one of my favorite powers, because if I have over 30% of momentum, as soon as I activate this, not only does it do a lot of damage, but also it has momentum. Kind of think of it as like damage over time, which is good. Or if I have no momentum, like right now, when I activate it, it doesn't do Tremors, but it increases my momentum. And that's really good, because one of the powers, and I'll go over in a bit, utilizes all the momentum, and it does tremendous amount of damage. So yeah, so first thing in terms of my rotation, simple, activate Enter the Fray. Okay, now you can move around if you want. You can move around and regenerate. That's fine. But one of the things I firstly do is Enter the Fray. Once I do that, then I usually do either my basic rope-a-dope or brawling, whatever, doesn't really matter. The next power I use is Devastating Charge. Now I like this power because not only does it do a lot of damage, damage is increased by 100% if fully charged, because this is you have to build it up, as you can see. So when you have it full 100%, you get 100% damage increase. But the good thing about this, it regenerates 50% of maximum momentum, and that's really good, because again, you want the momentum to be up. And not only that, according to our talent here, Devastating Charge does critical hit chance by 100%, meaning it's always going to critical hit, according to this talent right here. So to me, this is, especially for Juggernaut momentum, you want to always have this power if you choose this one too. Get out of my way, because it always critical hits. It does a lot of damage, especially when you fully charge it. It regenerates 50% of your max momentum, and again, that's a really good combination. So again, my rotation, simple. Into the fray, and then maybe do let's just say rope-a-dope twice, and then do charge. So something like this. Boom, right there. Okay. All right, that's usually what I do. After that, it's really simple. So just do it again. Into the fray. Let's just say rope-a-dope. Let's say I do one rope-a-dope, one brawling, and then do charge. And then charge. After that, just keep moving. And you can do it again. Once I have, you can, and also too, again, the key thing is gotta keep moving with this build. So you can into the fray. Into the fray. Rope-a-dope. Whatever, charge. Once it's fully maxed out, once this is green right here, like it is right now, I would use big elbow drop. Okay, that's my next power I would use. Big elbow drop. Why big elbow drop? Because big elbow drop not only does it do a lot of damage, it does knockdown duration, but also it spends all of your momentum. It increases the damage by 6% per 10 momentum. Meaning that when you have this fully maxed out, you don't have to have it maxed out, but if you have it maxed out, 6% of your 6% per 10 momentum is spent, the damage is increased, okay, by 6%. So basically, every 10 momentum that this power uses, whether it's 500 momentum or 1,000 or whatever it is, increase the damage by 6% per 10 momentum. So that's really good. Hence why I have a lot of movement powers. Like for instance, I have Into the Fray. I have Devastating Charge. Also too, Lariat. Lariat is a movement power. Use that as well too. So the reason why I say this is because again, the more momentum you want to be regenerating, especially as medkit, the more momentum you have and be regenerating, the stronger this power will do, the more damage this is going to do. So again, that's why I always start with, you can do two things. Either one, start with Into the Fray, and then do rope-a-dope or brawling, and then do Devastating Charge, and then just keep moving. And once it's fully charged, then do big elbow drop. Okay, so let's do it again. And then elbow drop. Just keep moving. You can do Lariat right there. And then once it's green, I notice right here, big elbow drop. And it does a huge damage. And the good thing about it too is that whatever, you can activate this power whenever you can, as long as you have some momentum. But it's going to consume all that power. So for me personally, what I would do is only activate big elbow drop when you have full or close to full. That way when you activate it, not only does it stun enemies, but also you can do quite a bit of damage. Okay, so again, my rotation simple. Enter, brawling or rope-a-dope, whatever. Devastating Charge, and then after that, just keep moving. You can either keep using Lariat, and then do dope or something else. But keep moving. The key thing is keep moving. That way, when it generates full momentum, like it is right now, do it again. Boom. Look at that, almost 500,000. Okay. Now, the next portion is like another rotation. I always use these two powers together because these two powers help each other out. Okay, so what are those powers? Simple. First one is Wrath of Sidorak. And this is incorporating signature too, by the way. Wrath of Sidorak, what this does is it does physical damage, but it's a critical hit chance by 35%. You regenerate 100% of your momentum, and it has cooldown 30 seconds. Okay, so that's a really good power. So again, it does a lot of damage, critical hit chance by 35%. You regenerate all your momentum, and according to this talent here, get out of my way. No, I'm sorry, not get out of my way. According to Embrace Sidorak, when you activate Wrath of Sidorak or Unstoppable Charge, Scion, which is this one right here, as I mentioned earlier, is activated automatically. So meaning when I activate Wrath of Sidorak, it automatically activates Scion. And you want Scion because Scion does base damage by 25% increase, critical hit chance by 10%, critical hit damage by 25%, and you regenerate momentum. So with that said, is what I usually do, and again, this is kind of like another rotation, is I always use Wrath of Sidorak and Signature together. So the way it works is like this. So usually what I do is I use Wrath of Sidorak. Whenever I want to use Wrath of Sidorak, and I always make sure that I use Signature. So it looks something like this. So the first thing I do is activate Wrath of Sidorak. That way I can do not only do the damage, but also regenerate 100 momentum. Shortly after that, activate Big Elbow Drop. That way I can utilize the whole entire momentum. And then after that, I use Signature. Why? Because again, this buff right here, Sign of Sidorak, I get this buff and I want to utilize this buff. So as soon as I activate Wrath, right away use Big Elbow Drop, and then right after that use Signature. That way when I activate Signature, I have a base damage increase by 25%, critical hit chance by 10%, and critical hit damage by 25%. And this is a buff. Okay, so it's very important because you want to utilize those buff and these powers, so that way when you activate these powers, Big Elbow Drop and Unstoppable Charge, you gain extra buff and you do a lot of damage. So it looks something like this. So again, Wrath, Big Elbow, and then Signature. 100%, Big Elbow, and then just keep moving. You can even do Big Elbow after. Boom, just like that. That's my second rotation, I guess you can say. And then after that, you can go back to the first rotation, which is this, move this. You can use this power right here, allow with whatever, and then once it's fully maxed out, do it again. And then you can even do it again, and then look at that right there. Big Elbow Drop, do it again. Big Elbow Drop, Signature, and then Big Elbow Drop to get that, and then get it again. And then just keep moving, remember that, and then do it again. It's that simple. Again, I like this build because you're always constantly moving. It's pretty simple. And just to reiterate everything, first rotation, simple, into the fray. After that, if you want to do brawling or rope-a-dope, doesn't matter, and then do devastating charge. As soon as you do devastating charge, start using Lariat. That way you can start moving and start regenerating your momentum. When it's full, you can use Big Elbow Drop and then repeat again. When you're going to use Signature, I would highly recommend use Wrath of Sidorak first. This is my second rotation. Wrath of Sidorak, Big Elbow Drop, Signature. Once the signature is over, use Big Elbow Drop again, because what happens is with signature, you increase your momentum. So by the time the signature is done, you can use Big Elbow again and utilize this whole entire momentum. And yeah, I'm gonna show you one more time. Pretty simple. So I'll show you again without any momentum, the first rotation, then second, and then you can see how it looks. And then I'll do it again, but this time with kind of building up my momentum. So it looks something like this. So wait a little bit here. And then here we go. And then boom. Big elbow again. Keep moving. Come on, you want to use Lariat a lot because it decreases the signature by 2 seconds. And then look, there you go again. And then just do it again. Just like that. Simple rotation, simple build. And you can do quite a bit of damage. I'll just do Okay, cool. Just like that. So I'll just keep moving. So I'll do it again, more rotation, but this time starting off with my whole entire come on, my whole entire momentum. So it's the same thing, but this time I'm going to start off. Let's say you're doing Cosmic Trial and you start moving. That way you can prepare for the next wave or whatever. It's the same thing, but instead of starting with enter, I start off with big elbow. That way I can not only do a lot of damage, but utilize momentum and then do the rotation again. So it looks something like this. So let's pretend we're doing Cosmic Trial and we're moving to the second wave or whatever, and then look something like this. Keep moving. Taking rotation. Elbow, and then do it again. Every time you hit with Lariat, remember you decrease the cooldown of the signature by 2 seconds. And then look at that. And then I can do it again if I want. And then boom. Oops, I forgot to do big elbow drop. My bad, my fault. But I'm assuming you get the picture. And then do it again. And so forth. And yeah, that's it. This is my build guide for Juggernaut. Sorry for making this video so long, but I figured I'd rather go over in detail and kind of explain to you guys why I chose certain powers and talents. But yeah, this is my build guide for Juggernaut. Pretty simple, pretty straightforward. He is definitely fun. I like how the big changes they did for him. I like how it's all movement, meaning you have to keep constantly moving, which is fun, and it keeps you really engaged. And also too, you're just moving a lot, and yeah. So again, this is my build guide for Juggernaut. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you have any questions, leave it in the comment section below. Again, sorry for making this video too long, but again, I'd rather be thorough and clear and explain to you guys my build, but also too some of the powers. That way, when you guys build them, you have an idea what to look for. And yeah. Again, any questions, leave it in the comment section below. Any requests for certain characters, leave it in the comment section below. Also, too, for Rogue, I'm planning to do Rogue next week, but I'm going to do all Rogue next week, meaning I'm going to have 2 videos, 2 different build guides, 1 melee, 1 range. That way you guys can kind of get an idea as far as how you want to play with Rogue. But I think the difficult part about that Rogue is that I'm trying to use artifacts that are very, they're not leaning towards either range or melee. It's more like general, like increase the damage to physical damage or something like that, or energy damage. So I'm trying to get some certain items. That way it's kind of like a hybrid artifacts. That way I can utilize for any either range or melee. But anyways, it'll be next week. And yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed Juggernaut build. This is again simple build, pretty straightforward. It's fun and great. Try it out. You might enjoy Juggernaut. I think is really, so far the ones that I've played, I think to me he's up to probably one of the most enjoyable characters. But again, any requests for certain characters, leave it in the comment section below. If you want to keep up to date with any videos on mine, or you want to help the channel a lot. I mean, if you want to help the channel, please do subscribe to my channel. Not only does it help the channel a lot, but it means a lot to me as well too. And yeah, again, if you have any questions, leave it in the comment section below. Alrighty, on to the next one. Bye bye.